Did you know that René Magritte once created a painting so controversial that art critics dismissed it as mere illustration rather than fine art? This single work would later become one of the most recognized images in modern culture, appearing on everything from album covers to advertising campaigns. In the next few minutes, we'll explore this painting alongside 9 other revolutionary works by Magritte that transformed how we perceive reality in art. These masterpieces shattered conventional thinking and redefined visual representation in ways that still influence artists, advertisers, and filmmakers today. Join me as we uncover the surprising techniques Magritte used to challenge our understanding of what's real and what's illusion. The Treachery of Images, 1929. In 1929, Magritte unveiled what would become perhaps his most iconic work. A straightforward painting of a tobacco pipe floating against a neutral background with the French inscription, "Ceci n'est pas une pipe." This is not a pipe. Written beneath it in careful cursive, the image challenges our fundamental understanding of representation. The painting's title, The Treachery of Images, forewarns viewers of its conceptual trap. We see a pipe, rendered with catalog-like precision, yet Magritte's declaration contradicts our perception. It's paint on canvas forming a representation, impossible to pack with tobacco or smoke. Like today's digital photos that capture but aren't their subjects, Magritte's statement created controversy, with critics dismissing it as visual wordplay rather than serious artistic expression. The Lovers, 1928. Just a year before his pipe painting, Magritte created an image that explores our psychological depths. The Lovers presents 2 figures locked in an embrace, their faces completely shrouded in white cloth, an intimate moment rendered impossible by barriers. This haunting work connects to Magritte's profound childhood trauma. At age 13, his mother committed suicide by drowning. When recovered, her nightgown covered her face, a personal tragedy that influenced the shrouded faces motif throughout his art. Unlike The Treachery of Images with its conceptual contradictions, The Lovers examines human intimacy through technical precision. The fabric is rendered with photographic detail, while the muted background focuses attention on the figures and their impossible connection. Golconda, 1953. In 1953, Magritte produced one of his most enduring images, Golconda, a painting showing dozens of identical bowler-hatted men suspended in midair against a backdrop of ordinary brick buildings and a serene blue sky. The men neither fall nor fly but hover in perfect stillness, like raindrops frozen in time. Named after an ancient Indian city famed for its diamonds, Golconda transforms the bowler hat, Magritte's signature accessory and symbol of mid-century conformity, into something profoundly unsettling. The neighborhood depicted was Magritte's own in Brussels, grounding this surreal vision in his everyday reality. Each figure, rendered with precise perspective at varying distances, resembles Magritte himself, suggesting this multiplication simultaneously captures personal identity and collective anonymity in modern society. The Son of Man, 1946. The collective anonymity Magritte captured in Golconda would find its counterpart in perhaps his most recognizable yet paradoxical work. In 1946, Magritte created The Son of Man, a self-portrait where he depicts himself in his characteristic bowler hat and suit, but with a floating green apple obscuring his face. Against the backdrop of post-war disillusionment, this painting deliberately undermines portraiture's traditional purpose. Magritte himself stated, "Everything we see hides another thing. We always want to see what is hidden by what we see." The apple simultaneously conceals and draws attention to what remains unseen. The biblical title transforms religious symbolism into a meditation on hidden identity, while the visible sliver of eye establishes an unsettling connection with viewers. The Human Condition, 1933. If The Son of Man confronted our expectations about portraiture, Magritte's earlier work, The Human Condition, 1933, challenged something even more fundamental: the nature of representation itself. The painting depicts an easel positioned before a window, supporting a canvas that perfectly continues the landscape beyond it. Where does reality end and art begin? Created during the rise of abstraction, Magritte's technical achievement speaks volumes. Like a window within a window, the painted canvas matches the perspective and lighting of the scene it conceals. Magritte returned to this concept throughout his career, exploring this philosophical paradox through various iterations. The human condition visualizes a profound philosophical question by collapsing the distinction between image and reality, influencing our understanding of representation across all visual media. Not to be reproduced. 1937. Magritte's fascination with the limitations of perception took a profoundly psychological turn in his 1937 work, Not to be reproduced. Here, a man stands before a mirror, but instead of revealing his face, the mirror duplicates exactly what we already see, the back of his head. This impossible reflection creates an immediate sense of unease, violating our expectations of how reality functions. The painting was commissioned by Edward James, a wealthy British poet and important Magritte patron. The figure possibly represents James, whose identity remains permanently concealed, challenging our understanding of self and representation. Adding to this disorientation, a book on the mantelpiece, Edgar Allan Poe's The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym, reflects normally, emphasizing the unnatural human reflection by contrast. Time Transfixed, 1938. In 1938, Magritte created one of his most disquieting compositions, Time Transfixed. The painting presents an impossible scene. A miniature steam locomotive emerges from a fireplace, suspended in midair, while a clock and mirror sit quietly on the mantelpiece above. The original French title, La Durée Poignardée, translates more violently as Time Stabbed, suggesting an assault on our normal perception of reality. Magritte had specific instructions when Edward James commissioned it for his London ballroom. Hang it at the staircase bottom so the train would emerge from the wall. James placed it above his fireplace instead. The locomotive appears completely out of place yet perfectly rendered. Like a dream invading waking reality, the mechanical intruder transforms the comforting domestic space into something uncanny and disturbing. The False Mirror, 1928. In 1928, Magritte created The False Mirror, a deceptively simple composition that turns human perception inside out. A single enormous eye dominates the canvas, but where we expect to find an iris, we instead encounter a vast blue sky populated with white clouds. The dark pupil remains at the center, a void surrounded by this impossible meteorological phenomenon. This eye serves as a portal where inside and outside blur together. The sky becomes part of the eye itself, collapsing the distinction between observer and observed. What if our eyes truly held the sky? By inverting the relationship between perceiver and perceived, Magritte suggests our consciousness actively constructs reality from within. The eye contains the world it perceives. The Empire of Light, 1953. From 1949 to 1964, Magritte produced a remarkable series of paintings that would become known as the Empire of Light. These works present a striking temporal paradox. A row of darkened houses with glowing windows and street lamps beneath a bright blue daytime sky filled with white clouds. This impossible coexistence fractures our most fundamental natural rhythm, the alternation of day and night. Magritte renders both illumination states with technical precision. Perfect shadows cast by street lamps, while daylight brilliantly illuminates the sky above. Like humanity's divided existence during the post-war era, these scenes embody a split reality, simultaneously familiar and deeply unsettling. The concept clearly captivated Magritte, who created 17 versions over 15 years. The most celebrated iterations reside in MoMA, the Menil Collection, and the Musées Royaux. Personal Values, 1952. In 1952, Magritte unveiled Personal Values, a painting that distorts our sense of scale in the most intimate of spaces. Within a modest bedroom adorned with cloud-painted walls, ordinary toiletries and personal items have grown to monstrous proportions. A comb towers over the bed, a shaving brush dwarfs a wardrobe, and a wine glass nearly touches the ceiling. Magritte renders each object with perfect technical precision, making the impossible scene feel unnervingly plausible. Created during Europe's post-war recovery, when consumer goods represented a return to normalcy, the painting asks, have our possessions begun to possess us? Like today's smartphone obsession, these oversized toiletries dominate the space meant for human rest. Through this distortion, Magritte reveals how everyday objects become stand-ins for our identities and values. Looking back at Magritte's 10 revolutionary works, we witness a systematic dismantling of visual certainty. Through everyday objects placed in impossible contexts, Magritte transformed how we understand representation itself. He constructed visual philosophy that continues to penetrate our consciousness. His influence extends far beyond gallery walls. Modern advertising appropriates his visual contradictions to capture attention. Filmmakers like Nolan and Gondry employ his reality distortions. Digital artists manipulate perception through techniques he pioneered. In our era, where AI-generated images blur truth daily, Magritte's question about image and reality resonates profoundly. His enduring legacy challenges us: question everything you see.